Hi, I'm Allie. Join me in creating this Bluesette Tile Bracelet. You can do it with a number of different materials, but if you want the exact ones, look to the right, or if you're watching on YouTube, below in the description, click there. It'll get you back to our site and list all the materials that are used. Gather up your supplies and let's get ready to get started. So to begin, we are going to start out with a combination of our squares, and these are 6mm tiles along with 4mm pearls, the Potomac Pearls. I have a bead stop on the end of my project, and you want to leave about 10 inches or so that you'll be able to come back and put on the clasp. This also works really well if you want to do it as a necklace and a center component. We're going to begin by picking up one of our pearls along with one of our tiles. So we're going tile, pearl, tile, pearl. And we are going to make this into a square. So we are going to do this with a set of 4. So we have 4 tiles followed by 4 pearls. Once we have that first one together, we are going to round out the design, meaning we're going to get that squared shape. Together, we're going to take our thread and our needle going through the cube, or sorry, the square, that tile, the 4mm round, and the tile. And this gets us into that little box. Now, one thing with one-hole beads that have a shape is they like to flip. We're going to do this design so it stays exactly where it is and it does not flip. So to begin, we are going to start with the outer edge of our project. A lot of our counts are going to be 3, 1. We're going to do 3 15s, 1 11, followed by 3 15s. Skipping over the pearl, I want you to sew into the next tile. You see how it kind of corners that off really, really nicely and just does a nice little point there. You're going to continue to do this to every corner. So every corner here gets that same finish where it has the 3 15s followed by the 1 11. As you do this, it pulls that center form tighter. As you're coming around also, you can say, hey, I don't like to do stop beads because could I just have knotted the thread? Yes, for this project, you could have knotted the thread into around in that circle. I have one more corner to go through, and you'll see that it is not cooperating. They're kind of moving all around, up and down. We are going to get them stationary and make sure they lay down. I'm going through that cube, and I'm going to come out after that tile. So you've got all your corners here, and you can see those tiles are turning. We're going to want the tiles to sit flat, which we will get to while we go in and do this next extra go round. From here, we're going to sew through the pearl for a different look and a different setting. So I'm going in right here after the last tile, sew through the pearl and out. So previously, when we were adding seed beads, we added them between each one of the tiles. Now what we're going to do is add a series of that 3 1 3, but we're going to circle it around the pearls. So it's the same count, but this time we're coming out of a pearl, we're going back into that same pearl, and we're going to create another look of that. Go through the next tile. At the same time, if your needle wants to, you can go through the next pearl. If not, don't worry about it. Take your needle and thread out, and then go through the pearl and continue on. So we did one corner. Now we're going to do another one, going through, adding 3 1 3. After you add those seed beads in, circle back around the same pearl that your thread is coming out of. That puts that course of beads right along the top, which we're going to then fold in towards the center, adding our crystals. Again, through the next tile bead, through the next pearl, and then repeat. I have 2 more to go on that I'm going to go ahead and create those little netting edges. As you go in and add that last little bit to the last pearl here, you're going to go through the next tile and then also through your first pearl. Now this pearl is the first one we started with, so it already has that little netting along the side, but we are going to step up to the top of it, going through the 3 15s leading up to the 11, as well as that light blush 11-0 seed bead. We're going to take the little bead collection there, that little loop that went through the pearls, and bring it towards the center as we grab one of our 3mm Potomac Crystal Bicones, and then sew and pick up all of the 11-0 seed beads going around the edge of that last group of seed beads that we did. What that does is that brings that in towards the center. It makes it more of a box and three-dimensional look. Getting that nice color in, pulling that towards the center. Once we go in and we add these 4 beads, it's going to end up with our 4 crystals added. We're going to go back around this loop one more time. And what that's going to do is tighten it up so that way it really pulls toward the center of the design. So now I have all 4 there. Get ready. I'm going to pull a little tighter and see how it pulls those cubes, kind of laying those tiles to lay down. I still have a little bit of thread showing. We're going to get them to lay down a little bit more by going around one more time. And that second go round of thread, you can see them pulling tight, really helps with that tension and making sure that you are pulling it in the correct manner and that you're not losing out on the look or the feel of the design. Now you can see those tiles still don't really want to stay exactly flat. So we're going to solve that by one more row of seed beads along the back. To do so, I am coming out right here of my crystal. I'm going to finish up going around my crystal and my last 11-0 to finish up 2 times around that center line. And then I'm going to bring my needle and thread toward the outer edge, down the 15s along that first loop there, through the pearl, because remember the thread came out of the pearl. If I jump into the cube, you're going to see that thread. And once I'm through the pearl, then I bring the needle out. If you need to, you can also go through the tile at the exact same time. Sometimes it lines up great that you can do that, and sometimes it just doesn't want to go. Just pull your needle out, switch the look a little bit, moving it over, pull that needle through, and now through one of those tiles. Now to get the tiles to sit correctly and make sure they stay, we are going to add some more of our 15-0 seed beads. So we're going to add the 15-0s, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go straight across the pearl and through the next tile. And this is on the bottom side. And that's just going to link and cover that pearl, which also helps to pull the tile to sit correctly. So again, going to each corner, 1, 2, 3, then going and sewing right through that tile. And when I sew through the tile, I try to sew through the innermost portion of the hole, so that way my thread does not get tangled in the thread that's already through. 3 more go on. And what I love about this is it's a beautiful component as is. So if you would want to make this into an earring, you can simply stop after 1, make a matching one, and you have your component finished. We're going to add our components together to make a nice bracelet, which I'm going to show you would also look great as a necklace. Once you have those 3 pulled nicely, your tile should sit great. Your cubes or your crystals line up right at the center, and we're going to get ready then to build onto our bracelet. To build onto our bracelet, if you're doing an earring, I would put a wire guard right here on top and finish. If you're building onto the bracelet, we are going to come out to one of our 11-0 seed beads that's on the outside of the pearl. To do so, go up through your 15-0s leading up to it, and as well up through that 11. When you come out that 11-0 seed bead, then that's going to be our connector point and where we get ready to add our next go round of our tiles. So coming out that 11-0, we're set up, ready to go, where we are going to add 3 of our 15s. Grab a couple more out here. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to start adding our 4 tile pearl combo. So you add your tile, your pearl. And again, just like we did at the start, we're doing that in a group of 4. 4 tiles that are followed by 4 pearls. Once you have those 4 on there, we're going to round out the design. And I'll show you how. All right, once those are on there, we are going to circle back up. The way we're going to circle up is just like we did before, taking our thread and needle and going back through that cube, pearl, cube. So through the tile, through the pearl, through the next tile, and give a nice tight pull. See how basically we're just connected right there through 3/15s? We're going to correct that as we go around now and add that outer edge of our seed bead. So I'm going to pull that, get it nice and tight and close. And now I'm ready to do my 3-1-3. 3-1-3 of the 11s to the 15s. Circle around to the next cube, skipping over the pearl, getting into that next tile, and continuing. When you get back to that starting tile that has the seed beads connected, I'm gonna show you how. We're going in here then and connecting the two. So here I am along this side. The seed beads are there. I'm gonna add 1, 2, 3 15s, skip over that pearl, so into the 11 that we're sharing, that blush 11 right at the corner. And look, now we're going back to the exact same pattern that connects them. From here, go through those 3 15s just as if you were putting them on, but they're already there. Pull that nice and tight, and then continue on to your next corner. Remember, as we do the corners and as we do the little petals that we're going to fold to the front, it's always the group of 3 15s, 1 11, 3 15s. As you come through the last of your tiles, that leads to an area where you already have your seed beads on in the corner. You're going to this time switch to going into each of the pearls. Go into the pearl, do that same 3-1-3, back through the pearl, through the tile, and do the same little petals that we're going to pull towards the center around the exterior of the pearls. As you finish up the second component and you're getting to the edge in order to continue with the design, I would recommend as you go around, going through that connection point. So going back through and reinforcing the 3 15s leading up to the connection point, down through that 11, and then down through the 15s as well, as you work your way over along the piece. When I get to the sides then, I just pick up reinforcing through the 3 beads along the bottom, kind of whatever is the easiest to grab onto. But then just like we did previously, we're going to work our way out, kind of going through those 15s leading up to the corner, through that corner 11, and then get ready with 3 15s followed by your pearl 4 pearl set as we continue to build these little components. Once you finish up the bracelet, and I have a total of 8 components for mine, and you can see it's a little bit big for my wrist, so 8's probably going to be about average. And I like to just look at it and see that great look. And we're pairing it with a Potomac's clasp in that rose gold color with that nice turquoise cabochon on there. Coming out of the last piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 and 2 15s followed by 1 11-0. I'm going to sew through the soldered loop of the Infinite Clasp. Now you want to make sure that the clasp is facing up because this project does have a top and a bottom. We're going to repeat 1 11-0 followed by 2 of our 15s, and then we're sharing that 11 just like if we were going in and adding another component to the process. We do that nice little tight loop, and we're going to reinforce going back up through the project, up through the 11, through the piece, and down. This is the second time doing this. I'm going to do it a total of 3 times. I like how this mimics the design in just that same V. And then on the other side, the important thing is, as we take off our stop bead and do that other side as well, is that we have the tongue on it. Once you go in and you have that reinforcement piece and that the tongue is facing up correct, you are going to go in and knot off your thread. So where to knot off thread? We're going back through that middle bead, whether or not we're doing this side or the tongue side. I'm going to flip it over. Take the thread and needle down towards the interior of the design, going through one of your tiles, and bring it out toward the design and go and catch on the back thread that connects along the back. Create a loop, sew through that loop once, sew through that loop 2 times. That's going to create a nice sewer's knot. Pull that tail out of there. To shorten my thread here. Other side. And then you're going to sew a little further. So I like to do my knot, then I like to sew further into the project, do the knot one more time, and then burn off the thread ends. We're going to do it to one side, we'll do it to the other side, and that finishes off your bracelet. And I just love the look of how almost three-dimensional this is, and how those tiles really set off the pearls and the crystals. Adding on that clasp makes it fit and makes it just as you want. Can't wait to see everybody's renditions that they make with different colors of beads creating their bracelets. Thanks so much for joining me in creating the Bluesette bracelet. Remember, if you want any materials, look around to the right or below if you're in YouTube. Hit that like button too, and don't forget to subscribe. We love to bring you new materials and new ideas. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and stay tuned for our next inspirational design.